I will check. Rachel, do you want to tell everybody welcome to Sunday Funday?
Welcome to Sunday Funday, everybody.
Woo! That was a great intro.
Yeah, well, welcome.
Beautiful.
Is this wrapped up your birthday week, Rachel?
Yes, this is finished. It's not my birthday week. Next week I just got work. I won't have anything cool planned.
Yeah.
Unlike some people I know.
It's whatever. So we just got back from a trip to Houston. A lot of people were angry that we didn't make a big thing, but this was Matt trip.
They would be.
That's on me.
We came down to Houston for Matt and had a good time. This is my first time to Houston. Matt, was it your first time too?
Second time. A long time ago, I came just to go see the Space Center. So.
It was fun. That park is weird. It's huge, but it seems like the stuff that most people are interested in not spread out very far. At least to me.
Not at all. Not at all. It seems like
it was so wild to actually see. You're driving down the road. Hey, there's that theater. Hey, there's that fountain. Hey, there's that statue. It was wild.
Well, what was worse than that? What was more interesting than that was going to that park before Mark showed up and having everybody go, look, here was where the train was. And then Mark coming in and be like, no, it was way over there. In fact, everything that you've just been told is wrong.
That's a given.
Yeah. And then showing us pictures.
Oh yeah. I kept leaning over his shoulder looking at the folder.
Yeah. I am for the longest time I said maybe Houston can still be found. I am 100% on Mark's team now. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah.
It's covered in gorilla poop.
Yeah. In fact, we got it. Oh, where's our gorilla?
Oh, and a big gorilla.
Yeah.
There's a couple of big gorillas in there.
Big gorillas.
That big silverback was giving us the eye, no.
We bought our.
They are not
we
friendly.
brought a
They're
cask.
not friendly looking.
That's cool.
Yeah, we brought a cask from the zoo. We're gonna name him Mark.
Oh.
This is Mark. It's got a silverback.
The silver
Name him
chin.
Brian.
So
Is that the hat? Is that the hat? Are you the
Yeah.
official hat too? Yeah.
my Houston Zoo hat.
Tried to blend in as an employee as soon
I
as we
did.
walked in the gates.
I was just gonna jump down into the gorilla pit, but then I was like, no.
There's gorillas down there.
It's crazy how big that thing is. I didn't expect.
It's gigantic.
It's 2 or 3 stories tall.
I tell people it's 20 feet of dirt, and people don't believe me.
And that was all filled in. It wasn't dug out.
No,
That's crazy.
they just leveled it and then dumped dirt in there.
Wow. So the cat's probably still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
It's protected.
Just
Yeah,
get a
that's-
big. You just
armed
need a
guard.
bigger backhoe.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a story I guess me and Mark will talk about later where I'm kind of like, no, it's probably not anymore. But that's later. So Matt, do you want to talk about what made you take an impromptu trip to Houston?
You mean
Your daughter,
yeah, sure.
besides your daughter?
My daughter. My daughter's gonna have a baby in January, so I was out here visiting. So that'll be great.
Is that your first granddaughter?
It is.
Nice.
Aw.
That's
That's
my
exciting.
daughter's first that'll be my first grandchild. We don't know. She's keeping it a secret.
Yeah, so
Oh.
the
Oh,
daughter.
she's keeping it a secret?
Yeah,
She's
I
told
like
me.
that.
Yeah, the daughter, the husband.
Well, then don't say anything.
know.
She didn't tell
And then
me.
everybody else doesn't know.
It's a gorilla.
If it's a boy, you should name it Mark.
If it's a girl, you should name it Mark.
I don't think I get a vote. So
You guys are mean.
yeah.
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 Grandparents don't get a vote. When I was born, my grandmother wanted me to be named Dusty. Thank
yeah?
God grandparents don't get a vote.
Right.
Yeah. So what you want to see what I wanted to look at? Is that what you want to see?
Sure. Whatever you want to talk about.
Let me
Matt, you've been wanting to look at this since the San Francisco meetup. Am I right about that?
Yeah. It's been a while.
I've been wanting to look at this since the day after the second Houston podcast dropped. Because I was driving down the road, going to work, listening to the podcast in the morning. And what was the guy's name who worked for the zoo?
John Donovan.
Yeah. And he goes, 18 minutes into the podcast, he goes, yeah, the tram in the zoo ran on tires. There were no tracks. And up to that point, I had assumed that small scale step across was the tracks of the tram in the zoo. And so as soon as there were no tracks, that made me think, okay, small of scale step across has to be the entire children's zoo. I'm thinking this as the guy's talking, as I'm driving down the freeway, and I went, oh, I think I know where it is. So, hey, can you let me share the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 second.
I have to figure that out.
You go.
It's at the bottom.
Security.
Now under share screen.
Go to participants.
That's my screen, isn't it?
No,
There we go.
I think you go
I'm
here.
good. I'm good. I can do it now.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Okay, so
Wow. Wow.
let's see.
Now you know all his secrets.
I do.
That's right.
What's
I know.
that? What's that
Okay.
text file that says
Yeah.
all the answers?
So here's the zoo in I think 78. I think this is 1978.
I'm more interested that you have a Paint Shop Pro organizational file.
Nah.
I haven't seen that since like '98.
Okay,
I
I,
like-
also have Adobe Photoshop and I have everything Adobe. But
I
I'm
like the
better
tic-tac-toe.
I'm better with Paint Shop Pro. Okay,
Two of them.
so there is the fountain, right?
Hey,
There's
Matt,
the- yeah.
we still see your
Oh.
file. Yeah,
Yeah.
we hadn't
Oh, wait
clicked
a
the
second.
picture yet.
Let me shrink. Wait a second. You still see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I go stop share and I go share again, wait a second, let me just go. And this is weird
This
because
is Matt
I only
type
have two
links.
screens.
I don't even know how you got to that page. That's
I know that was
impressive
like
to
the slickest.
You passed-
screenshot.
you're way past me.
All right, so all right, now I can do it. Let me try this. Share screen. That one. Share.
And I think Mark had all of this back in the
How's
day.
this?
There you
Yes,
go.
that's it.
90%,
Yeah, now I see
95%
it.
of this I got from Mark.
Ah,
Okay. So, all right, can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see this. There's Hermann Park. There's the zoo. There's the fountain right there.
Yeah,
right?
that's 81 because the new entrance is there.
Okay. So if you go due south from this thing, you pass through that space, you pass through this space, you pass trees, space. There, right now, there's like a wall right here and a some sort of lake of something. There's a water feature right there, right? But if you keep going south, okay, you just go right through nothing and out the back gate. Okay, so if you're keeping track of the location of that fountain, not losing your perspective, you come out right here. Okay, all right, so this is the 982 train, which is also, as far as I'm concerned, it's Fortress North. Okay, the Ayn Rand quote is talking about railroad tracks. Okay, so there's the railroad tracks. Okay, right under that train. And then this is, you see that?
Yes.
Okay, that's where we zoomed. That's where we were basically yesterday. All right. In this picture, which is from 2004-ish. Okay, there's the two round buildings. Okay, but they have eliminated the road that goes here. They've shortened this corner, and the only piece of property that still is intact from that original picture is right about there. Okay, and this bunker right here, which is in full view of this thing, is the only landmark that was there in 82 that's still intact around here. So this is what I was measuring from and taking my angles from. Okay, so let me go. So, okay, this picture here. So here's the bunker, and this is the back gate right here. You guys can see that, the 3 pictures?
Yes.
Okay, so notice this one, weirdly, the line's wrong. Okay, here it matches up really nice, but in this older picture, they've gotten the latitude line wrong. So I corrected it. But this area here was my spot. This is where we were basically digging. Okay, so this is, I think, 77, and this is 2001, and this is 2017 over here. Okay, so, but that's where I was, and I got all kinds of theories and reasons why the verse matches and all that kind of stuff. But that's my spot. That's what I wanted to go see.
And we did.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting, to stick a probe in the ground, but Sunday brought a probe. So thank you, Sunday.
You're welcome.
We went about that deep. Maybe.
Yeah.
We
The
couldn't.
ground is hard.
It's very, very hard.
Ground.
It's
So-
like probing in concrete.
Yeah.
All right.
All day, every day.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it did prove some to Matt's point though, because you could tell like some of that the crushed granite that they use inside the paths, inside the zoo. So the path for that back gate.
Yeah. That was difficult.
Mm.
But it's good. It's good. I'm glad you were able to go and test it at least.
I just wanted to stand there and see it, 'cause I've been thinking about that spot since, the second podcast dropped.
I was just
I
having
like
to hang
to
out
see-
with everybody.
I like that Matthew's coming along in his search here, that he's, starting to explore road triangle.
My favorite part was we get there and all of a sudden out of nowhere, Matt pulls out like this 100-foot like real tape measure
Oh, yeah.
and then
Yeah.
like a can of the marking chalk. And it's like, where were they? Like,
And,
where
and actually, for anybody who happens to figure out where that's at, and it wouldn't be that hard, you can find a big orange X still.
True. It was fantastically. I mean, I got to hold the tape measure and everything. That was really fun. Like, stand here. Yes, I will.
I was,
Yeah,
I was talking to Rachel, and then I looked over at Matt, and all of a sudden he's surrounded by this orange smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, came for bear. Came for bear. I didn't think we were going to touch the grass, even dig, and then all of a sudden, Sunday with her wagon full of Winona with the bag of tools, and I made the joke earlier off this about if I was a mass murderer, she would be my wingman because she had every burying equipment, shovel, picks, axe. She had everything needed to bury something.
She even had a
I told
cart.
y'all.
Unburied.
I hyped that card up, man. I told
Yeah.
y'all about that thing. She came through.
Yeah.
It's
It was
a really
cool.
long walk to the where you park, and so we have to come prepared. That's a big old park.
Yeah.
Well, I knew ultimately we put some hole in the ground because you can't get me and Matt together without expecting there to be some dirt moved somewhere.
Yeah.
But
That was
I didn't
fun.
expect it to be that difficult. That was a hard,
Yeah.
hard.
That was
place.
hard.
We didn't know it was costume day at the zoo exactly, or we could have all been in costume and nobody would have noticed us.
Yeah, we could have been like
Well,
construction workers.
You're right.
Nobody noticed us anyway.
I know. Well, they did.
Yeah.
Yes,
Nobody cared.
yes, they.
I don't
No,
know.
they-
Rachel. Tell
no,
me
they
what
didn't.
Noticed.
But they had to think. There was funny looks when we were all taking the pictures, and
Oh,
honestly,
God.
I took pictures with everybody, and I had to get pictures of everybody.
That
And,
one
they
woman on
must-
the bench was your fan, though. Rachel,
Well-
Rachel saw it. Hey,
Rachel has to tell that story. I missed it because the other end was pointing that way, and I didn't notice it.
You noticed that, didn't you, George?
I
You
did. It was
did.
perfect.
But
It was perfect.
people, yeah, they must have thought there was some kind of celebrity going on because we would take pictures of each other back and forth and back and forth. And they must have thought,
That lady on the bench was crazy. So what happened was we all got to the children's zoo and we found that lion,
Fountain.
the lion
Drinking
fountain.
fountain.
And
We
I
found
don't know,
something.
was Sunday? Were you the one that
Yeah.
was like, we gotta get a
I gotta
picture?
get your picture.
And so she's like corralling all of us around this lion fountain, and then there's this lady sitting on the bench right next to us. What the fuck are these people doing? Like, it was she's like taking pictures and everybody. Oh, this is so great! Everybody's gonna be so excited. This little old lady's like,
yeah.
And then Steve went.
And then I bent over and took a drink out of the fountain, so my back end was pointing at her, I guess.
It was quite close when she was eating her popcorn.
Yeah. And everybody's snapping photos, so I assume people must have thought somebody is important there.
it's that fountain.
It was a fountain. Yeah, we all wanted the lion fountain. Right, it wasn't us. It was the lion fountain that we really wanted.
And then when Matt was doing the chalk and the lady walking her dog with
Oh,
her
yeah.
boyfriend, she looked
They
at
must have
Matt like, what is this guy doing? Like,
That was a fun trip.
It was fun.
We were quite conspicuous, I think, a couple times.
Yeah.
I did post that one picture that said something about like we had a plan or something, and it shows everybody doing
love that picture.
Mark on the ground with all the paperwork going, and Matt's doing something, and George is in behind. It didn't look like a plan.
My
but-
favorite picture was like it was like
fun.
it was a circle of everybody, and then Mark and Matt were in the center staring at each other, and Matt's like this.
Right,
I
right,
just
right.
posted it like Mark and Matt finally stand off. So
Oh,
I
go
gotta
ahead.
I gotta talk to Mark for a second, because Mark, getting you to go live is difficult. So we finally have you here, and we had a conversation while we were at the park, which was probably one of the most important conversations I've ever had about Houston. The podcast many times has said that the Houston painting was John Palancar's least favorite to paint because of how exact it needed to be, because of the perspective of the painting needed to be correct. Everything needed to be in a very, very exact spot. So I had this idea, if you were to go to the park, like we knew where the two columns were at the American entrance, and we knew there was a light post, which is exact in the image. And I always had this idea that if you go there and you dig at the light post, that's where the cask is going to be, because the verse lines up, the image is perfect, everything's in perspective. And then Mark told me this story about what he used to do back in the day with those light posts. So Mark, I was curious if you'd sort of take us back in time and walk us through your thought process of how you got to that area, and then how much you explored it before, because everybody seems to focus on the bulldozer, but could we talk about before the bulldozer, your adventures in the park?
Well, the very early, once I realized that the Children's Zoo was the place that I worked, I was searching for the light post with the circular globes. And I think most people have seen the photo that I took of the light post with the circular globe lying on the ground in like a maintenance area. And one day, my son Justin and I were
Mark,
in the car.
just so you know, your audio is really weird. I don't know if you have your finger over your mic or not. You sound like a demon robot. It's cool.
That's the best I can do.
That's
sorry.
That's all right.
Just have to bear with it, I guess.
Yeah.
So Brian took us on a tour of the zoo at one point, and we came across a maintenance area, and we stopped, and I said, "That's the light post." He goes, "Oh, that's the light post from back in the 80s. We replaced them all in the 90s. I said, "Well, where were they?" He said, "Only in the children's zoo." So I said, "Well, that just levels it out and points me to exactly where I want to be." So from that point, for probably maybe a year, that's all I dug was the areas around the light posts. And of course, they were very hard to dig because there were concrete around them all, and there were wires, and the wires were still live. But nevertheless, every single light post that I could get to, I dug by, and there was no cask by any of them. Now, it's possible when they put in the new light posts, they also put in new stanchions. And that means they dug out the old stanchions and then they poured new concrete around it. So if there was anything by it, it probably would have got dug out. There was one light post over by the llama pen that they built a handicap ramp for when they did the modifications to the zoo for handicap. And they poured a concrete ramp. So the light post was actually now completely encased in concrete. So that was the only lamp post that I did not dig in because of the concrete. Although Brian did tell me if I got a jackhammer, I could jack the concrete out, but I never got around to that. So one of my buddies who dug with me once dug by one of the lamp posts, and they had run the HVAC Freon lines through that area by the lamp post, and he put his shovel through the Freon line, and just Freon went everywhere. It was like an explosion of Freon, and that was the end of the air conditioner for the for the auditorium. Now I think it was turned off at the circuit breaker, so I don't think anyone ever turned it on because they never used that auditorium again. But it wasn't going to get used anyways after the Freon. But based on that, I'm still firmly convinced that that's where the box was, by the light post, by the back gate. And that was the image that I had sent to Price back in 2004, whenever, that I said, hey, this is where I think it is. They're going to start ripping this place apart, putting a gorilla pen in the air. So please tell me if I'm right. And that's when he said, I'll go check the vault for the photo. And then 3 days later, he died.
Yeah. So the way that John started, because John doesn't like to talk about these things. John doesn't like to talk about, and I'm going to try to, I'm going to tell this story and I'm going to try to keep my opinions out of it and just sort of tell you what happened. John doesn't like to talk about, especially to me, because he doesn't like to give hints. But in this situation, it was me and Bradley. We were talking to John and we were telling John your story. We were telling him your story, Mark. We were telling him start to finish how it all happened. And we were talking about how you and Byron were kind of friends. You talked about comic books and stuff like that. And that was the only reason Byron was still talking to you. And you guys were very close, and that you sent him the email and I told him exactly what you were saying. And I was like, and then a couple of days later, Byron died and he never got an email back. And I told him it was like, it's in the children's zoo that after all of this happened, you were able to get a bulldozer. You dug up the whole place. You couldn't find anything. And I was like, Houston's probably gone. And he was like, that was my least. He's like, yeah, I think he said, yeah, that sucked, or that sucks.
He said that sucks.
He said that sucks. And then he was like, that was my least favorite painting to paint because of how intricate it had to be. It had to be very, very, very intricate. It had to be perfect. So like I would take from Byron's initial response to you and from the offhand comment that John Palancar made, just, thinking that everybody, I guess he would have been thinking that, I mean, since we just told him the story, I don't know. From the offhand comment that John said, I'm going with, you're right. Like, there's no, like, it's too perfect, right? It really, it's just too perfect.
Well, I would have thought if it wasn't in the children's zoo or the surrounding area of the children's zoo, he wouldn't have said anything, or he would have just blown you off. Being that he was talking positively about it, it does lead one to believe that theory is at least the plausible one.
Yeah. Now, Bradley, I got to ask you, since you were there, like, it's been a long time and I have a bad memory. Am I mischaracterizing this at all? Is there something you remember that I'm not saying?
No, I have a terrible memory as well. So I'm in the same boat, but I clearly remember him talking about that being his absolute least favorite of the 12 to paint for that exact reason. He just had to be so meticulous about it.
Yeah.
I do have a question. I hate that I was not able to go on this trip. First of all, I wish I could have met all of you guys. But while you were there in Houston, I know recently there's been a lot of talk about the area of the park with the big water fountain and the towers. There's a bench there. You know what I'm talking about? There's like not towers per se, but pillars. They kind of, if you look at it from a certain angle, match the pillars in the painting.
I think you're talking about Tranquility.
Tranquility.
Maycom Fountain and the Colonnade.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about Tranquility.
You guys check that out?
Oh,
Not a good
We did-
park. Not a good park.
Bradley,
We did stop there and spent an hour.
It's gross.
Tranquility. Yeah.
How compelling is that in person?
Not
Well,
at
I'm
all.
not sure. Bradley, are you talking about Tranquility with the differing heights pillars? Okay. Yeah,
It's
that's
gross,
good.
dude. So okay, there's something
The pillars do look, there is pillars that kind of at first jump out at you as the kind of pillars. The rest of it is.
Have you ever been to Houston, Bradley?
Yes.
Oh,
I've
okay.
been to Houston once. It was for one day and it was for a Black Sabbath concert.
Okay, well then let me explain Houston to you as a non-Houston person, okay? Because I'm not a Houston person and this is just my impression. When I went to Houston, everything in Houston appeared to have been designed by someone into Art Deco in 1942, and then it was never touched again. So like everything is old, falling down Art Deco, weird 1942 futuristic, whatever. Tranquility Park is the grossest park I've ever been in my entire life.
Oh gosh.
All of the fountains were drained. There was just
They were.
trash and poop
I don't know
everywhere.
what's going on with
Like
that. Yeah.
all of the concrete's cracked and broken. It was gross.
Right,
I-
Ugh.
Let me give you guys an advertisement here. So during Harvey, that whole area was underwater.
oh,
Everything. Well, the Hobby Center, which is across the street from Tranquility Park, water was actually inside the theater.
okay.
So all the mechanical equipment that ran all those fountains is in the basement underneath the park. The park itself is the top of the parking structure for the Hobby Center. So if you went down the stairs at the end of the in the corner, the southeast corner, you could have gone underneath it and looked up, and you'd just see a concrete ceiling. And above that concrete ceiling is a park. So the park itself is literally sitting on a concrete floor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so all the pump equipment was ruined. The transformers were ruined, the pumps were ruined. And so the city has decided that they're going to do the reclamation on the entire area. As you can see, they've been working on the street, and they're planning on ripping all that stuff out of the park and redoing it all. But they're not going to put it all back together the way it is.
Yeah.
So that's why it's in kind of a bad shape. Now it is also filled with hobos.
Yeah.
I'm sure you saw
We didn't say that.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, there was one guy that
Fair,
yelled at
those
us.
fountains haven't been turned on since the last time
Yeah,
the
so
Super
those
Bowl was
pumps
here.
haven't been
So
turned on in, what, 6 years or 8 years or whatever,
Oh.
since
It's been a
Harvey. But the hobos are still there, and they will be very nice to you if you give them money. Make it go.
And there is
It's a wreck.
there is a guy who's been feeding cats for 10 years. We met him.
Yeah,
That's
he would like us to stop working on The Secret and start working on fixing the world. He
World.
made that
Yes.
very
Yes.
clear.
Hey, if it's a random guy feeding cats, he's okay in my book.
Well,
It was
he's
very
fine.
nice. He was
But
British.
we're supposed to stop with the
He didn't
secret.
say what he was
fix
doing
the
with
world.
the cats after he fed them, though.
Hey,
They were
now.
behind bars.
Hey,
The
now.
cats were
These are downtown
We didn't
farmers.
stay that close to him. We moved on.
Oh no.
There were places in that park where you could dig. Like there were hills of dirt,
Grass.
and they had like even like a community garden. But there's no reason to dig there.
Yeah, I asked that question not because I think it's there. I asked that because I know that people watching this are going to want to know.
Yeah.
Knowing Mark's story and talking to John, I'm in the same boat. I think it is under gorilla poop.
Yeah. I tend to like when I go to secret cities, I end up finding things from whatever cask sites and I bring them home. Like I have one of those the Mason light covers from Milwaukee, and I got part of the gate from Roanoke, and I actually have a brick from Tranquility Park.
Oh, you
'cause
did?
Nice.
Random bricks laying around.
I got one
there were a bunch of
too.
bricks laying around. Nice.
A different kind of brick.
I dug there once. I got a brick too. My girlfriend actually.
Shai's like, my brick was more expensive and it's green.
I want one of
There
those
was
bricks.
one brick
please.
missing out of the path, and we just fit someone over there.
Now, Mark, you saying that, it does make sense. Like, there was a lot of construction stuff there. They had those, because they've got like those glass brick walls and they had like a big pallet of them. But it seemed like everything in the park was broken and it seemed like it had been neglected for a long time.
I think Alan, you know a little bit about that, right?
That park is terrible, and we have dug the heck out of that park. I'm just to be honest. I've probed that moon dome, the entire thing.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work on it, and it's not there.
Yeah, I mean, the visuals there are great. They really are. Like, you can match that painting super well. Even Mark admits you can make a match there pretty well.
I think that's literally the first place. Like, even people that live here, when they see the image, they go straight to that because it's the only existing columns that look like and have the vertical slashes in them.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
But then as you dive in deeper, you kind of get further and further away from it.
You're
Or
like,
at least I have.
Oh, the 982 is not there. Okay.
No.
But yeah, I can't. That was gross. It was a gross part.
Hey, Mark, can I ask you one question? How far away from the light poles, like some kind of distance, did you decide? I mean, how far away would you decide from the light pole fixture that you might find it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So basically, as far as I could dig that in a day, I basically did one light pole every time that I went. So there was probably half a dozen or 8 of them, and so I just dug all day around it. So 10 feet out, 8 feet out, and at least 2 feet deep, and as deep as I could get.
Wow, I love it. I would have loved to help you.
So much work.
It was very hot. It was typical Houston weather.
Dude, I bet when you hit that Freon, it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Just for a moment, then it was fear. It was the same fear when we cut the top off the sprinkler.
So we're getting a lot of questions. Simon wants to know where the lions were, which, if I remember correctly, the one that we took our picture at has always been in that exact spot, and then the other 2 were mobile.
No, the one we took the picture at was in the new children's zoo that didn't exist back in the day.
Okay.
That's a whole newer side of the park, of the zoo.
I posted a picture that I had found that shows a round building on the side I think it's on the regular site, but it has a round building right next to it. And somebody responded, said that was the building that was just inside the gate to the right, and it was like the bathrooms.
It's the bathrooms of the concessions.
Right. Yeah. Right in
the
that
aquarium.
Right to the
inside
right.
To the right. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the one he's trying to find. Now he has to find the old photo. I think Matt's photo, you can kind of see that little round building is probably in that little corner up in the top left, wherever.
Yeah.
That's where they tore that down to build the new aquarium spot. That's all behind the fence that was there when we walked in to the right.
Yeah, I know Simon's been after that. He wants it lat-longed and everything, and then I don't think anybody can really do that easily.
So
the lion fountains were all mobile except for one out in the park. They were all on wheels, and they just had concrete blocks in front of them. So they moved them wherever it's convenient.
Yeah, which sucks because it's not something Byron would have known, right? He would have just walked up and saw that fountain and, oh, that's a great clue.
Except that it had a hose coming out of it.
Well, if it's
because
not...
it had to be up to a water supply.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Just a really long tail?
You wouldn't know it was mobile, but you might suspicion it.
Yeah. So here's a question that I don't know that I've ever heard you really, like, I've heard you talk about it privately, but maybe not publicly. So you if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I'm sure you're not going to you probably won't have a problem with it, Mark. What was your idea of the 3-wing and slight?
The little concrete statue guys that were all over the the park, the CZ, they're cinder block guys, and there were some with there. I actually have a picture of one with 3 arms, and there are tall ones and there are thin ones. So that's the only thing that I ever could put my finger on. I honestly do not know. I do not claim to know. That's my only guess.
And Tim wants to know if there are pictures of the light poles. There are. I'll post one. Just look at the image and the thing that looks like a light pole. They look exactly like that. But yeah, I'll post a picture of it in a bit.
They also had globes like that hanging from the party room around the edge. It was the same globes, and that's where I had the bulldozer start digging at that point, thinking maybe they were just under the globes instead of being under the lamp post. But that didn't pan out.
Yeah. The globe light pole. Okay, that was Sunday. Yeah. Okay. So then after we did all of this, Mark, you had to leave and go be with your grandkids because apparently grandkids are cooler than us.
Way cool.
And then Jax took us on a trip around the zoo, which didn't help because there's like you pointed out 2 things that were original to the 2 the like rows of columns. That was it.
Well, yeah, I mean the seal exhibit sea lion is still the same. It's been updated, same position, and then the 2 columns heading down. There were placements like the cafe that Matt when it kind of circled with his cursor. Half of it's still there, and then they added onto it the location of some of the animals and kind of layout in between that and the children's zoo. But then as soon as you get to the back, it's literally, I showed you guys the fence where they built out and fenced it off all the way and then put a gorilla exhibit on top.
Now, I always imagined that back in the 80s, this was less a actual zoo than it was like people had zoos, where it was just like a petting zoo or like little pens where you look at animals. But was it like a legit zoo where there were big, like it is now, but smaller?
Yeah. Up until you got until the children's zoo. That's where the petting zoo, the nursery, and all the interactive stuff was. But like the pins that I showed you guys as we walked down for the flatland animals, those haven't changed at all. Those are literally the same since I was born. They've just updated and made it more comfortable for animals. They're not living on concrete like they used to. But the layout itself, that's kind of why we took that left swing around to show you the stuff that was actually there back in the day. The few things that were. But it doesn't affect anything in between. Once we got to that cutoff, I guess the not longhorns, the African longhorns, that was the rhino pin, and then after that, everything's good.
All right.
But no Brownie. Brownie was gone.
Yeah, Brownie's
that was
he's still missing, man. He's still missing. I don't know.
We're gonna have to find him.
I was gonna say,
Matt.
Yeah.
Mark.
Mark.
Somebody asked a good question. It was phrased a little weird, so I'm going to answer the way it was phrased. Jennifer wants to know if we think Texas is still there, which I do. I left it this morning.
It's still here.
But
We're here.
I get her question. What do you guys think? Do you do you think you can still get a cask out of Hermann Park?
I haven't given up.
I do.
But I've learned a lot. I learned a lot of things. Nothing that I can go dig up a hole, but I learned some, so I haven't given up, but
Alan, do you think you can still, I'm sure you still think there's a cask, maybe not in Hermann Park, but in Houston.
Yeah, I think it's beside that moon in Tranquility, but it's under favors, and if they
come up. If you want to,
they come up. And some of them you can have names on them. You can just bring those on home.
Sunday, what do you think?
I'm hopeful. I mean, I've only been in it a year, so I guess I could speak for my generation or whatever. But you just kind of have to, you're like, okay, what might it be? What might it be, and so there's still a whole lot of park. Do I think that I have a better a better handle on it than Mark, I would say no. I would say he has a lot better answers for for the birds and stuff. But you know, I mean, I'm only half an hour away. That's the one I'm closest to, so I still want to play. So yeah, I'm still, you know, I
I
mean,
mean, Louisiana, like New Orleans, not that far. You just slide on
6
over to New
hours.
Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
6
whatever. It's New
hours.
Orleans. It's worth it.
Yes. That's where we need to meet up. Is we need to all go to New Orleans.
I tried. Jax, what do you think?
I think 99.9%. Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's hope. There's always hope. Like it frustrates me even when Matt was showing his aerials. Like it's always bugged me that the aerials that are taken are not from the same perspective. So it's hard to even pinpoint where stuff is when you overlay photos, right? Like it's hard, like most people don't realize. You look at the difference between the 79 and the 83 aerial, and you notice that there's not a walkover bridge, but you don't realize how much the train bridge has changed its location as well. So people are going off a perspective that didn't exist. Even now, from the 83 spot to now is different. There's a whole 15 feet of concrete to the north side of the bridge that people don't realize is where the bridge used to be, and that's the train bridge. Now it is. So we all know the whole off by an inch, off by a mile or whatever. But and Mark could go in and pinpoint all the spots on his map where he probed, and if we had an absolute layover, it might be next to the tree. That's one tree that's still there, you know.
Yeah.
So that kind of hope is still there. But that park is literally almost every single inch of it, whether it looks different or not, has been touched in a way. The ground has been moved and it's just tough. I know that there's an answer. There's a solve. Like I have, my hope is one day we see a photo that is just like, whoa, there it is. Like nobody has that photo until it's in grandma's phone book from 1983 trip to the zoo, you know?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that photo was in the email to Byron from Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a pretty compelling photo.
It is. Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't know if I've seen that photo. That's awesome though.
Yeah. Bradley.
Yeah.
Bradley, what do you think?
Well, what I learned on this call that I didn't realize, when Mark said that they leveled it and then added dirt, I thought they dug out the area.
Oh, so did I.
So that's, that's exciting. I think.
Not really. No.
I think so.
Well, imagine standing at a bridge and looking down like 3 stories. It's that much
difficult.
Dirt.
That doesn't really make sense to me though, honestly. Like where we were standing was, if you look over the edge, like we were when we were looking down on the gorilla, that was well below the old tree line.
Well, I'm sure they had to dig a little bit out because you've got it seemed like there was stuff underneath the ground where we were. It seemed like we were walking over maybe a room, or because a lot of zoos do that. They have like pens, but then they also have storage areas and stuff, and that tends to be underground where the exhibit is. So I'm sure they dug out a little bit, but it was a fairly decent sized hill.
That's actually a mountain in Houston terms. I don't know if you've noticed how flat our town is. Like that's a legit hill in Houston. That's impressive.
To finish my answer, I would say that I think when Mark dug up with the backhoe, I think he probably dug it up, but that was a lot of dirt to go through. And Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you got the opportunity because of the water to actually go through all the spoils that you dug up. So I'm hoping that you did dig it up and that it just got moved around, probably a little damaged, but that's okay. What Cask hasn't been. And hopefully one day, some construction work will be done and it'll come up and we'll find it.
Hopefully.
I will say that when we moved all that dirt, I was standing there and I did go through as much as I could. But the reality is that if it had already previously been broken and all we were bringing up was fence, then it would have been very difficult to find.
Well, didn't you tell me between the time you were digging at the light posts and 1982, they had rewired a lot of them and they had done a lot of digging around the light posts? posts.
Yes, all of them, because they changed them all out. That's why those light posts weren't there in '82.
Gotcha. I understand.
They were new light posts with new globes, and so they had to have rewired everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Didn't somebody one time wish that someday they're looking in the gorilla pen and all of a sudden the gorillas are standing and there's a box sitting right out there, and then we all just gawk at it and go, Jax, go get it.
So here's a practical question for everybody that comes up in the groups a lot. And I want your honest opinion, because this comes up a lot, and I think it's a tougher question than people expect it to be. If it's gone and you can't find it anymore, would you want to know?
That's literally why I'm still here.
Yeah.
You would want to know. But it would end the hunt for you.
Okay.
I would still want to know.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
We got 9 others.
No,
Okay.
the fun of this for me is the searching and the hunting. And even if it was gone, I wouldn't want to know, because that just means that my fun's never going to end.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why the weekend was so fun for me. I can't even describe it really, but Matt had a spot and we went, and it didn't matter if we found it. There was really no reason in my head that if we found it or not. It was just fun.
Did we get to go on tours with Mark, where he walks us through it and shows us where it was, and it's a solve tour, right?
I think I expressed that a couple times to him, maybe too many times, as my son probably pointed out that you're gushing, but I would have loved it. I loved it. I love talking to each of you, but yeah, that was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
In reply to that comment about being a solve tour, if one's found, I absolutely want to know, because that's going to help us find more. But if one's not recoverable, I don't want to have any idea.
Yeah.
I guess proof or answers.
I want to know.
Yeah.
I would want to know, because then I would know I need to start driving to New Orleans.
I think
Southbound.
George and I talked about it. I asked the same kind of thing, that I don't know if I'd be angry or happy or sad or sleep in the next day, but then I'd go to New Orleans.
Yeah,
and
Steve just needs his sleep, man.
I need to.
We should all just go to New Orleans. I think the appropriate answer for any
I
problem
mentioned that
is just
too.
go to New
Yeah.
Orleans.
Right,
You wanna go
because
to New Orleans?
Sure.
all we got to find is a brewery that somebody owns,
Yeah.
and we're
Or with their name on it.
Kind of
or
sort
with their name on it.
So
I
it
mean,
sounds
kinda,
like we
sorta.
should make an
Kinda.
annual
Kinda, sorta.
meetup in New Orleans.
Yeah.
New Orleans should be the annual
Yes,
meetup.
please.
Right around
Let's do
Mardi
that.
Gras.
Because it's just the fun. Just the hunt would be fun. It's
Yes.
Mark,
just
Mark,
it was.
Mark, can we drag you to New Orleans?
Oh, I've been there. I like it.
Yeah, but can we drag you?
Can we get you out?
Will you
I
go with
would
us?
Oh, Mike,
I'll pick you up.
I used to do a lot of electronic searching on New Orleans, so I'm very interested in that.
Nice.
I'll pick you up. I'll come get you.
I don't have to ask Matt
Anytime.
if we can drag. He went away. I don't have to ask Matt if we can drag him to New Orleans.
Well,
Matt,
maybe Matt was offended because you didn't give him a chance to answer his
that's
question.
probably it.
And he's
He's
like, "Screw
coming.
you, George."
He'll be back.
It's like screw
He'll be
George.
back.
It's like,
You didn't ask Alan either. If you
yeah, Alan. I'm sure Alan will come to New Orleans with us.
No, but you asked him if it was recoverable.
Oh,
yeah.
Alan. Yeah, I did.
You did?
Didn't I?
Yeah.
Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then my
Okay.
bad.
Wait, ask Alan. Alan did.
Alan, come to New Orleans with us.
Yeah, New Orleans, I'm in Hunter's Field.
See, he's ready.
Different spot than Carly's, but
Nice.
same field. I really like that field. But I wouldn't want to go. You want to go in a big group. That is not a safe part of town.
I don't know. The first time I went to New Orleans, I took Destiny. She was 13 years old, and we were walking around like the French Quarter and the Treme at like 3 o'clock in the morning. It was, probably not smart, but fun.
I just want beignets and king cake.
Yes.
Exactly.
And whatever it is, they mix the tequila in and put it in a fishbowl.
You got and the grenade drink things, whatever those giant tall.
The cock drinks.
Oh yeah, Willie's
Yeah.
cock. Yeah.
Whatever. But whatever. But it was it's just the hunt. It's the game. It's the.
I hope that doesn't explode while we're drinking it. Cans did.
Oh yes, we did have a bit.
We did have a little trouble drinking. We had some drinking problems. He has a drinking problem.
You were quite conspicuous.
He couldn't even open a can. The can wouldn't open right.
What? You come to my town, I'm going to give you like a champagne fountain. I'm going to have something classy lined up for you. It was a wine out of a can fountain, but
Wine out of a can, nice.
Hey, we're fancy in Houston, bro.
Only the best. Only the best, Bradley.
We stopped at the little cafe for a drink, and so we walk in. Jax was so nice. He bought us, drinks and stuff, and so they had like wine in a can, and so we're like, yeah, sure.
Like undertones of aluminum.
Yeah. So everybody gets there, so everything is normal. I go to open mine I should have known because it has like a rainforest on the label, and oh my god, it exploded in spectacular fashion. It just kept coming, like it just kept going and going, and it was everywhere. There was a little family like right next to us.
You sprayed a child with booze.
You wonder why they looked at us.
No, I think it was me that sprayed the child with booze.
But then
the second one was better.
But then the second one came out.
The replacement.
Yeah.
After the poor guy came out and mopped up the place and cleaned it all nice for her, brought a new one out, and boosh.
Matt's back. So Matt,
I told Sunday. Yeah, I told Sunday I'll open it for her because I know I got this, and I opened it. I got all over my eyes, my face, all over.
It was like a bubbling fountain. Like it just kept. I was like, I've never seen anything like it. It was terrible.
It was amazing.
But the third one, I got a different brand.
Staring, laughing at us like this is the best thing ever. I could watch this all day.
Matt's back on. Matt, we were talking about doing an annual meetup in New Orleans, and Mark said he'll be there if you come. So
yeah.
Well, I'd have to see.
I have no idea what he just said. What?
I think he said absolutely I'll be there.
Yeah, he said absolutely 100%. I'm buying around for everyone.
Oh, I thought he said he wants some tea.
Oh.
I want some tea.
They have tea.
Long Island iced tea.
Yes. All right. Well, I have nothing else unless there's something you guys want to talk about. The floor is now yours.
I won't bring up the porcupine story or the end of the day glass fiasco, but Rachel, I am glad you got your glass. I hope
thank you. And
it was an honor. It was an honor. It was an honor. And thank you to the three old timers and then you new guys. Bradley, I wish you were there. We talked about you all day. But again, Matt and Mark and George, it was a pleasure meeting you guys, and I love thank you for answering questions. I know you probably answered 100 times, but nice to meet you, Alan. Jack, well, but no, the brewery. Oh, we didn't mention the Buffalo Bayou Brewery.
Oh yeah, that bar we went to.
Yeah, the bar.
Jack sort of kind of owns a bar.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Only the third floor.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
But nobody knows his name, so does he really like?
Hey, he was really well known on the third floor.
Let me just one last thing, and I'll shut up. But Hunter, who isn't on here right at the moment, he's in the other room, but he was there with us. He's become a little more of a secret. He's a newbie, but he jumped in. But he said, Jax, everybody seemed to know Mr. Houston, Jax. At the zoo, people were coming up to you. At the bar, people were coming up to you.
It's a brewery.
So, he said he knows. I know it's a brewery, everybody. It is a brewery. And it's a real place that you can Google and find and go see the view. It is a beautiful place. We loved it. The food was great. The food was great. So
they have
there you go.
3-story tall metal cylinder things that apparently hold beer. We were told we could go look at them. And then we didn't.
Oh,
that's yeah. Sorry,
we talked.
He had baby duty. Remember? No, he had
baby duty.
My little dude over here was calling.
Yeah, he had baby duty. Completely understandable.
It was very.
That explains the name Buff Brew.
Yeah, It was very kind of you, Jax. Thank you.
Yeah, very,
Ah,
very. I had so much fun. I was
Yeah.
telling him what a great guy you are.
Yeah.
No, it was awesome.
Like,
you guys are great.
You guys can go.
I love showing it off.
You want to go live with Jackson? He's a brewery.
Yeah. I don't think his girlfriend's gonna like that very much.
And I don't know if anybody told.
You can babysit the kid, and then Jax can hang out longer.
And
Yeah, I could have stuck around.
Bradley, did you get a phone call from George? Did he leave a message
Oh.
for you about how much he loved you?
No, that
Did
was
you get
live.
a-
He was. He
I
was
answered.
Oh,
I
you-
answered. I got a call.
oh, you
from
did
him.
live.
Yeah, I let George know. Of course, I love him as well.
Yep.
It was
We
hard
were
to
at the
hear.
table, and George was
That was
he
a
was
moving
he was
moment.
thinking about something, and we just said, I think he's thinking about Bradley.
I think let's
And
just
then we
say that
called
my
you.
beer works.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Oh,
oh, that one,
My beer works.
that beer. Yeah. So we were thinking about you, Bradley, too. So
oh. Yeah, I hate that I couldn't go, guys. I really appreciate you guys sharing everything you shared during your visit. I love the photo. I saw the wagon with all the tools in it. George
I
probing.
know.
The face off between Matt and Mark. It looked like an awesome adventure, and I'm really glad you guys got to do that.
Yeah, it was.
It was phenomenal.
I can
was
just
awesome.
say, I was giddy. I was giddy the whole time. I have to admit to anybody who's listening to this, that I didn't know this was going to kind of happen. Just kind of talking to Matt, and then things in Texas, and then it stumbled on. So I feel like I was really lucky to just kind of be at the right place. And George said, "No, come along. You know, it's okay."
That was very sweet of
I-
Jennifer.
All I was going to do is just get in there and shake hands and say I met him and run out. But they're like, "No, stay here." You know, so
Let's see. Don Adams wants to know how many of you guys live in the Houston area. It's basically everybody except for me, Matt, and Bradley. Even Alan's kinda in the Houston area.
Yeah, I'm 5 hours away.
Yeah, so closer than me.
5
and
hours.
Bradley and
so.
Matt.
Where are you, Alan?
I'm in Texarkana,
The other
Oh,
way.
wow.
5 hours.
Yeah, that was
right on the
quite a
border
drop.
of
Came
Arkansas.
in.
So yeah, Hunter does, Sunday does, Jax does, and Mark basically owns Houston. Like he is the Houston guy.
I don't get anything out of it though.
You get fame.
You
Oh,
get
no.
you get a lot of emails annoying you, right?
I
People-
knew that.
People
Oh,
fly from Florida and San Francisco just to give you a hug.
They
Yeah.
do,
There you go.
they do
do
that.
They do.
I say that because I was one of those emails years ago, and it's one of the things this was actually the first time I got to meet Mark, and we're in the same city, so that was really cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
So you still, Mark, you still get emails and everybody still pesters you about it
I would say
in a nice way.
a lot less frequently now, and mostly they do it through Quest for Treasure using the DM feature.
Oh,
Mark's like, please do that. I can ignore that.
Exactly.
Did Mark greet you guys with fresh vegetables?
No, we didn't
It's
get
not
any
fresh
vegetables.
vegetable time.
What?
Oh,
No, it's not fresh vegetable time.
I didn't even think
They're
of that.
growing.
He didn't
Uh,
bring video games, nothing.
He is quite the gardener.
He did give you a
and,
hug.
He gave me a hug though.
Yeah,
and,
and,
that's worth it.
that's all you need
Totally
is a
worth it.
hug.
Yes.
There
It's
you
a
go.
hug.
Thank you.
he had that folder, and when he
Yes, he
opened that
did.
folder, light came out. It,
He had his
it was like a
backpack.
glow came out, and I was like, oh. I looked over his shoulder and I saw things and I didn't know what they meant, but I was looking at everything.
That's like a life pro tip for old hunters, or to new hunters from old hunters. If you will ever meet an older hunter, ask to see their folder, because
There
they
you
all
go.
have one.
That's right.
Brian's is like that thick. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's in the backpack.
Mine's all on my laptop.
Oh, yeah, the old backpack, the original backpack you showed us.
Original backpack.
Also, yeah, and not to mention, I mean, I haven't met you guys in person also either, but taking it back to Q4T, like Matt was there, dude. Matt sent me a message to meet up, but I was like, okay, like I'll be there. Like,
Right.
I've been reading this guy's post since before I was born.
Oh, wow.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of people that were disappointed that like there wasn't a public thing, but this was like a quick trip for most of us, and we just sort of threw everything together and came down. So
Yeah, it
sorry.
was originally
It was-
just supposed to be like 3 people meeting up.
Yeah,
It was just supposed to be a quick personal friends meetup, and I'm glad it grew into this because it was awesome to watch happen.
yeah, but we'll have to get something like official together for Houston. eventually.
I got a spot.
Is it in the gorilla zoo?
I got a spot.
Yes.
I got a spot, but it's more north now. I've changed my spot to the brewery. It's right out there in the grass patch area. We can probe it, and then we're done.
Nobody's gonna say that's Jack's Brewery, right?
No, that's
they're
New
gonna
Orleans.
Say,
That's New Orleans.
No, it is Jack's Brewery. Exactly what they're gonna say. Let's meet up at Jack's Brewery.
That's right.
Who's
That's
Jack?
not confusing.
Yeah. Wait, wait,
Yeah, he's Buff Brew.
but your name's up there, right? Was that a true story? Your name's
No,
up there?
it is up there.
Okay,
his name is on the
somewhere.
on the bean.
Somewhere. It's
On
on
the
the other
beam.
side. That's why you can't.
And
see.
the,
I even just changed this name just to mess with you guys.
okay, good. Well, this name is my son, so
Yeah.
you can see how technical
Whichever
I am.
name, whichever
Yeah.
side.
No, yeah.
Go there.
Jax was
That one.
correct. Hunter just said. Or,
Oh.
yeah,
Is that the wrong
your
side?
name? Number one.
You
Your
got
name
it
there.
now.
Your name there,
You
Steve,
got
is
it, Steve.
Hunter, but you were
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
pointing at the secret podcast. So
Isn't that Yeah. Again, if Hunter isn't in the other room and with all this, I wouldn't know how to do it.
All right. Well, I guess are we good? And is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we just cut out?
I said thank you about 100 times, so I think I probably said it enough.
Well,
But thanks.
thank you, all of you for coming out. Thank you, Matt, for inviting me, and Mark for coming, because it's such a joy to finally meet you. And
It's
such a
always
joy-
been talking about since we woke up. We woke up at 4:30 this afternoon, right?
Yeah.
Our plane was a disaster. Did
Yeah,
George tell you how many
it's
times
horrible.
it got delayed?
No.
Oh, dude. So we get on the plane. We're ready to go home. I'm about to fall asleep. All of a sudden, the little guy is saying that the engineers have to come look at something on the nose or something, and it's going to be a few minutes. Well, a few minutes later, he's like, everybody's got to get off the plane. So we get off the plane, and they're like, make sure you get your boarding pass with you. And then they're like, it's only going to be a few minutes. Well, a few minutes turned into an hour turned into another hour. So we finally got back on the plane after 2 hours. And then we're going, and then I end up taking a nap, and we get to Orlando, and I'm so excited because I want to get off this plane. Like, George is the worst. George is the worst person. If you ever fly on a plane with George, he's just miserable. Bradley, am I right?
If George hates being on the plane, that is 100% accurate.
I don't mind
he's-
flying.
dude,
I just
he's-
don't like being constrained.
He is miserable. So we finally land. George is miserable because he's been stuck on this plane more than he should. And then all of a sudden we pull into our gate. There's another plane in our gate. So George is like, gosh, he's all huffy and puffy at this point. So the plane goes around this gate and goes to another gate. And then we're literally sitting at this gate for like 30 minutes. And George is like, are we never going to get off? And I'm like,
I wanted to go like full Karen and start yelling at the.
Oh
Just
no.
open the door.
Your manager.
So eventually, after he said this, like literally like 5 seconds later, they parked our plane, and George at this point, and Bradley can vouch for this, George didn't even wait for people. Like, you know how you wait to let the people come? George just like stood up,
Nope.
and he just like San Francisco, he stood up, he's like, I ain't gonna wait any longer. And
Gotta
he
get off
just-
this plane.
So I gotta say that it was fun meeting all of you guys, but she was the best.
Oh,
Rachel,
thanks.
oh my
You star.
Rachel, you and I laughed about things on the side, and oh yeah,
Dude, I was
woman
gonna
behind-
mention that too, dude. I've
she's
seen
the
all
real
these-
treasure, buddy.
All the
She's the
podcasts,
real
and I've
treasure.
always thought it was super cool that everybody gives props to Rachel. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But when I finally met her, I understand
yeah.
why. She was super sweet. She was hilarious. It was awesome.
Amazing.
She-
Oh,
thank you,
and
guys.
Matt, your daughter was very nice
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
She was
Kelsey
very
was
Oh,
sweet.
and Mia
wonderful.
too.
Yes,
And Alan's
Mia.
wife, Mia.
Yeah, Mia
Oh,
was
Mia.
wonderful.
Mia.
She had a
Wonderful.
blast. She had.
She was there. She was
reputation for-
trooper. She was
Oh,
a
look at
trooper.
your
I mean, she was pregnant and she was trooping and taking
He's
pictures
very
and video
cute.
of you. Yeah.
Tired.
Yeah.
You can't stop talking about Rachel and Sunday.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, it was really fun.
Right. I know the true treasure there was right there.
Yeah.
George,
No,
you're a
I
nice
don't
guy,
know.
but
I think
Yeah,
the
no.
treasure might be Atlas. Just saying.
Oh,
Hey.
hi.
oh wow.
Oh my gosh, she's beautiful.
All right.
Like,
well,
where's the cask?
we will,
Yeah,
we'll cut out Sunday Funday then if that's it. Thanks. Thanks for welcoming us to your city. Thanks for coming and hanging out.
Yeah, thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bye.
Everybody,
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.